Hi everyone, my name is Anika. I'm from Labrador, or from the Nunavut region, and I work for Nipivut. If you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Jenna Amarualik. I'm from Igloolik and living in Laval. I work for Isuma.
Unukut, Nancy Saunders. I live in Montreal now. I'm Nancy Saunders from Nunavik. I've been living in Montreal for about 10 years now. 10 years already, yeah.
Okay, so if we want to just start talking about the art, I know you're an artist. Does any of the work inspire you or has impacted you?
So I'll start by introducing the work I do, I guess. 6 years ago, I decided to quit everything I was doing. I was going to be an elementary school teacher, and I decided to quit everything and go back to school in visual arts. I'm sorry, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm walking.
Oh, you were supposed to stand up.
I'm just gonna do this. There you go. I'm walking like a wobbly penguin. Pregnant wobbly penguin. So I decided to quit everything I was doing. Like my whole life plan basically was to become an elementary school teacher. It was safe. You have summers off and all that. It was like the master plan. And I decided to quit everything. I quit my job. I got rid of my apartment. And I told my whole family I'm going back to school in arts. And they all told me, aren't you supposed to be an artist to go to school in arts? And I think, well, I said maybe I had a chance, So that's what I did. And at first my work was very literal, very representative of traditional lifestyle, hunting, fishing, children with the traditional clothing. And slowly it's transformed. And I went to school here at Concordia, and I went to Cégep du Vieux, and it got me thinking about art differently. I didn't realize people thought of art that way, with the colors and putting so much emphasis on this and the movement and that. I just kind of did what I thought was pretty at first. And so my work kind of evolved to more of an abstract, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's just kind of what I feel and what inspires me. But home inspires me a lot. So when I see the work, I can tell that, home inspires her a lot too.
And what kind of feelings are to do with home do you feel from seeing?
These works? Well, that one in particular. I've traveled most of Nunavut, a lot of Nunavik also, and landscape. Whether you're in Iqaluit or in Kuujjuaq or anywhere, it kind of all looks the same, right? It's vast land, and it's all very different, but it has a sense of home kind of thing. So when I see a painting like that, it does, the colors and the stone, and I don't know about this one, but we don't have much octopuses at home. But no, all jokes aside, I'm going to be honest, this is all new work that I haven't had a chance to see, but give me a second, I'll catch up.
How does it make you feel to have Inuit art in the South, and does it remind you of home?
Yeah, it does remind me of home, like what Nancy said, that one. It reminds me of my childhood, because growing up, I used to go hunting with my grandparents, and there's also a lot of hunting and landscaping, and you get to watch the whole harvesting and everything. It really reminds me of my childhood.
And in any of the drawings, do you notice any symbolism or any meaning from any of them?
Yeah, there is a lot of earth forms and galaxies, and a lot of creatures that comes out of your imagination.
It seems a little cliche to say, oh, it reminds me of our childhood, we're Inuk, it's hunting, it's animals, it's harvesting, but that's the reality of back home. There's a lot of people who live off the land, it always sounds very, very, cliche to say that, but that's the reality. Like we go hunting, we go fishing. We do have a very strong connection to the land.
And do you feel like these drawings like represent that?
Yeah, for sure. You can tell her own interpretation of this connection that she has. There's, the symbolism like of the cross, she speaks of Satan. This is all, because I don't know if most of you know, Inuit were colonized not so long ago, and we were, I guess, animist spirituality. And when Christianity came, and Anglican, I guess it's the same thing, it changed a lot of people's point of views. And today, there's a lot of people who are reluctant to follow this religion. So you can see kind of like her hate against it. That there's also a lot of people who have this. They're very traditionalist, like my uncle or my aunts. They're very Jesus Christ and God and born again kind of mentality. So you can see it in the symbolism, and it's very typical. Yeah.
And is that represented in your work as well, or?
I don't put any religious symbols in my work. I'm not one to fight against something rather than embrace a positive something else. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'll praise tattoos rather than burn the cross. I'll praise hunting rather than scorn the vegan, or I'm gonna put positive energy on what I think is beautiful and righteous, and I mean, in my opinion, So I don't fight against what I don't believe. I fight for what I if that makes sense. So I'll have like tattoos and hunting and scenes of with sounds with throat singing and things that were demonized. I'll bring them to the forefront and on a plateau where it's praised. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, like what she mentioned about religious and stuff, I don't know of her artwork, if it's form of like colonialism, or I'm not sure, but there were a lot of Inuit were abused in residential schools, and that might have impacted her artwork.
I don't know if we were thinking of maybe like going to one of the illustrations and describing it, and I don't know.
Which one was your favorite?
Yeah.
Well, both. Okay. Which did you have one in mind? Or?
Me?
Yeah. Or anybody? No. Who's gutsy enough to say their favorite and we can talk about it? Everybody.
I really enjoyed the black and white on the other side, like the two. So I don't know if you remember that.
Do you want to click or see it? I'm gonna go wobble to it.
The ones there's like one with bones. Exactly, with the one with the bone, the other one on the fish.
What did do you know what the work we're talking about? Was the
Yeah, there's a lot of rocks.
all the details.
Yeah, a lot of details.
I mean, all of her work kind of shows, like, okay, I'm going to be super biased, but like extreme patience and like the traditional, I'm going to say something that's probably just my opinion, but we were taught to be very patient, and, there's a lot of, prejudice about Inuit today, that we're lazy, that we're alcoholics, that we're this and that. But I remember being taught a lot of patience, and you have to be very patient life, and all of her work kind of shows that time that she takes to really capture like her vision. And that drawing there, I love it. It's like the traditional hunting, the you see the food or the remains of food, and then you see some dude capture a picture with a iPhone. It's like super cool. It's a perfect, I guess, kind of vision of what Inuit are today. There's such a false like idea that we're all like stoic hunters, and that as much as we are hunters, it's our everyday thing. It's just like going to the grocery store here, and like the fact that today we have cell phones, we have Wi-Fi, we're connected. Just like this one here, you see the amotik, the woman with the parka, and everybody wearing the traditional clothing or not, and doing their homework, doing their drawing. It's just such a good depiction of today, yeah.
Would you say that these art pieces are going to inspire your future work, or?
Yeah, no, for sure. Always. I'd like to be in her head for like 10 minutes. That's what I would really like to sit there and look at her thought process and I would love to be in her head for about 10 minutes. And it's funny because that's what my uncle said about me. He says, what do you think of it? How does your brain work, kind of thing? Yeah, for sure, the freeness of it, because for a long time I was stuck with wanting to make it look real or exactly like how I want it. And she has this freedom in her creation, like these forms, you're not really sure what it is, and it must be very freeing. Care about, I'm sure she cares about the aesthetics, I'm sure she does, but to have this fearless, I'm gonna do this because I want to do this, is so amazing. What's that? Oh, did everybody hear me? Yeah, to have this fearlessness and this freedom of creation. I'm still trying to get there. I'm still so hard trying to get there.
Do you want to talk about your work a little bit?
Yeah, my career is kind of crazy. It's just kind of exploded into I was talking about this with my boyfriend yesterday, thinking kind of having a performance anxiety, because I came up with a lot of things in a very short time, and my career went from doing watercolor of my goldfish in my living room to having a gallery exhibition in Vancouver in 5 years. It's so crazy. Shit. And I was telling him okay, so this summer, starting from May, I had 3 solo shows, one after the other. I quit Concordia in October, and then I had 3 solo shows. And now I'm kind of feeling everybody keeps asking me what's next? I have no idea. I don't have a master plan anymore. But the work I do, it's very inspired, like I said, from my home. I can talk about, I guess, one piece in particular. So Captation, the sounds of throat singing, is a sculptural piece installation I did with soundscape included. It was acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts of Montreal. It was shown first at the Oboro Center, and it's so crazy because as I was carving, I thought to myself, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if this work found a good home? And after showing it at Oboro Artist Center, a week later I got a call from the museum telling me they want to acquire the work. So the work itself is 3 stones. I gave them the illusion of floating. They're actually hanging from the ceiling. with a wire that kind of disappears with the black backdrop. And so it's 3 stones representing each a throat song, because throat singing was named the first intangible heritage of Quebec. And I thought that was really, interesting that it's intangible. And this is something that I had been experimenting with. So I had brought like throat singing, Northern Lights into stone and wind into stone, and this idea of intangible into tangible form. So when it was named the first intangible heritage of Quebec, I decided, okay, I'm going to put it into stone and see what it would, look like. I imagined, because throat singing is abstract interpretation of an element of the nature, right? So there's the wind, the dog sled, the mosquito, and all these other elements, and we interpret the sound abstractly, so the carvings themselves are abstract. I imagined if one element would move across the stone, how it would transform the stone. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, so I took my 3 favorite songs, so the river, the wind, and the dog sled. I imagined what the element would look like if it transformed the stone, and I carved it in that way. And then I also recorded sounds that the throat song is imitating. And then I got the throat song and that element to live together. I was curious to see if it would actually kind of sound alike if they were living together. So what you see is when you come in is these 3 stones hanging with light, and then you come and you put the headphones on, and I kind of brought throat singing into this 3D form, and you kind of, it's pretty cool. I was really happy.
Show the wind song?
Oh yeah, sure, we can do the throat singing for sure. Yeah, right on. Let's do it now. A day.
Which one is it? Is it
No.
that one?
We'll do the river. A day. So this is the river, and what's cool about the river is that why it's my favorite is because it imitates the sound of the river, but it also imitates being underwater, and you'll notice that, right? Yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah. So. Keep going.
It's kind of long for my little
Yeah,
throat.
okay, there you go. So. Right on, cool. Yeah.
It's the first time I learned that.
Yeah, right
actually.
on. Aye. Cool. Nice improv. So like I said, just to finish off, I had these songs recorded with me and a friend, and then I was a strange one back home in the winter. I was at the beach. I was on my knees in front of the water, kind of recording the ice cracking, and I made a hole in the ice to hear the river, the water under, and there was a lot of trucks that were passing by in Kuujjuaq yelling out the window, "Nancy, are you okay?" And I was with my recording gear. Yeah, I'm fine. I was only weirdo to be at the beach in January. So yeah, the work's going to be up this year at the Musée des Beaux-Arts de Montréal. And this is what I do. I kind of take things that I really love about my culture and kind of bring them into, visual form or tangible form. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, I want to say thank you for both of you for speaking, and if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, questions. about the work. It can be, is it cold in Gujarat? Yes, it is. It can be about anything. There's real lack of conversation between like Aboriginal and like non-Aboriginal people. There's a lot of people who are afraid of asking questions that are gonna, there's a lot of people who are afraid to ask questions that are they're afraid that it's like, oh, am I gonna insult, or is this a proper question? Like, you don't have to be worried with me or Jenna. We've heard them all, so.
I have a question.
Ade.
I was wondering if you could, one thing that I really like about a lot of this work is like the shapeshifter creatures. And I was wondering maybe you three could talk a little bit about that idea of like animals and humans mixing and shapeshifting in traditional Inuit culture.
Yeah, so we have a lot of creatures. Inuit are full of stories and scary stories. I was told that children very young were taught to be afraid, or to kind of face the fact of being afraid, because the land is very rough. It's very tough, and you can be afraid many, many times. So it wasn't unusual to, scare your child. And that's where Lakuluk, she does the face paint with the balls. I don't know if you ever heard of Lakuluk. Lakuluk with, Lakuluk Williamson Bathory, yeah. So she has, the dance, the traditionals. This is what we did to scare children. We also had like legends like the shapeshifters and yeah. Do you want to talk about? I know I love that story too, but you can talk about it. So there's the creatures that steal the children when they're at the flow edge. What are they called? Ahalupiluit, yeah. There's so many. The little people, the giants, and these are all people who are out to get you if you're not careful. It's like the equivalent to Banam Satar here in the south. The Northern Lights were told to me that to be our ancestors, dancing in the sky, and they wanted to play. So to play, they would come and rip your head off and play ball with your head. So when you're 6 or 7 and it's winter and it's 4 o'clock at night and there's Northern Lights, you freaking run. You like run back home. Yeah, exactly, because they would say that if you whistle, they get closer. Yeah. So we'd and then wait and look. And then they really did look like they danced more. They looked like they got closer, and then we'd bullet. one man for themselves. There's Irat. What I had learned is that it's a creature that shapeshifts into anything. He can. I don't know if it's like a human that shapeshifts into animals, or it's just like I don't know what the forever form is. But I was told that it's a creature that could shapeshift into anything, and if they find a lone hunter, they will lure them. Let's say if it's a hunter looking for a caribou, he'll transform into a caribou and then lure them into a world that's between dead and alive, and they'll be lost forever. The only way you can tell if it's an Irat creature is if their eyes can never change color. If they stay red. So if you go hunting, just beware. You have to make sure that their eyes are not red. What else other creatures do we have? I did a piece about the Iran, a man transforming into a raven. Yeah. Yeah, I missed that piece. That's the thing about, being an artist. You do work and then you have to get rid of it, which is really hard. Any other creatures?
Well, there's what's it called again? I can't remember the name. But there's sorry, I can't remember it, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But the iirai, they transform into anything, and sometimes I know it could be real because I've heard stories from my family that they've hunted a caribou and it would never die, never, and you have to break all their joints for it to be dead. Or if you leave it because it's not dead, then it's not there the next day.
So in Inuit culture, they say if you don't know something fully, don't tell the story. If something happens to Jenna, it's like, oh yeah, she got into a car accident and blah, 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 when actually she almost got hit crossing the street. You know, they say they're gonna ask you, who told you the story? Did you see it with your own eyes? And if your facts are not straight, that's why Jenna probably, because you don't remember it completely, won't talk about it. It's a way, I guess, to get rid of false, misinformation and false information. Yeah. Any other questions? There's so many. I'm sure you guys are bubbling with them. No more. Oh.
I'm just wondering if we're going to be able to see your work being shown in Montreal, either of you? Except at the Musée des Beaux-Arts. But
Yeah, plans are I might be having a fourth show. Depends on if I have an idea of the show. Not checking. No, for real, it's kind of strange. I've been here for 10 years and I haven't had anything except for Oboro in Montreal, and I've had shows twice in Toronto, once in Vancouver, but a gallery approached me and asked me if I had anything to show. I said yes, I do. Fake it till you make it. No, I'm not joking. No, I'm joking. No, really, there's somebody who's interested in having some of my work. I just gotta get, started. Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a film tour in 2 weeks. I'm going to Nunavik for the west side of the towns to show some films. And there was art biennale in Venice.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask my manager Sam to come up and talk about it.
Oh yeah! Woohoo!
He has more information. So. Do you want to sit?
Hi, my name is Sam. I was not expecting to be called up like this. Well, Jenna worked on the show as well. The show was Isumo, the company we work for. The collective was selected to represent Canada at the Venice Biennale. So we were there from starting in May, and the show just closed in November. And we were showing a new film that both of us worked on, as well as some other work. And I don't know, maybe Jenna can talk a little bit about the film. I don't know if you want to talk about the Noah Piogatuk film. I know you also worked on some of the related projects as well. We did a mapping project connected to the life of this man, Noah Piogatuk, who was an elder in Igloolik. And Jenna, I think you're probably better to talk about Noah specifically. Oh yeah, the film is also going to be showing in Tromsø, Norway in 2 weeks. So I'll be going there to show the film, and we'll also be showing some live streaming videos, which is something that we've been exploring as well, and Jenna's been working on subtitling that as well, so I think she could talk a little bit about that as well.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah.
I really like her face. Really strong. If you need anybody, I can drive you around. I have a license.
Well, the movie that's gonna be shown. It's called In One Day in the Life of Noah Piogatuk. Do you want to talk? It's about when the government came to the nomadic life of Inuit around Igloolik area. It's about the forced relocation into settlements. This specifically was to Igloolik and to Nipivut's family. It's interesting. I think everyone should see it.
It's very surprising. Like the story of like relocations and being colonized, and everybody has a really most of the people that I meet, they think it's something very, very, very far away. My grandmother saw the transition between nomadic life to sedentary life. My grandmother. And if you go far, like Igloolik, they missionaries and settlers came like after Nunavik. So my friend Charlotte, it's her mother that saw, and my friend Charlotte, she's my age. I'm 33. Her mother saw the life between the nomadic life and to the sedentary life. My mother was the first one to get a job in the family. She's only 55. She had a job for the Hudson's Bay Company in the fruits and vegetables section. Like, this is so crazy. This is yesterday. And, from nomadic lifestyle with so many taboos and so many legends and stories and strict way of life to being in gallery spaces in Montreal with selfies and Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram, and this is crazy. This is so crazy. There's people in my community who've never been to the city, like who've never known anything but Kuujjuaq, So yeah, I think it's important to share. Yeah.
Well, I find that elders are very, very wise. They lived the life where nothing existed except from the land. Like, they've had clothing from animals that they caught, and now they live in houses with like Facebook and everything.
With internet, with Wi-Fi, with forks and spoons. My great grandmother was given a matchbox and said, "This is not your house. This is now how you live, with a table and a chair and a fork and a knife and a spoon. This is not too long ago." And then my generation, where like I've known nothing else but Kuujjuaq, hunting and fishing, but also the city would come during the summer, and now I've been living here for a little over 10 years now, and and then a question that pops up a lot today now is what it means to be Enok. Because everybody has this idea of like the stoic hunter and the stoic this and like the lifestyle and what you see in anthropology and books written by anthropologists who came and visited in the 1950s and the 1940s. And these are all things that are super important. These stories that I grew up with like Iran and all this, the Northern Lights, and these are things that I like to believe in because there's something that was taught to me. I think they're fun and but it's not my reality. I don't need to sew my boots or sew my coat anymore. I can go buy it, and what I do is contemporary visual arts, and I throat sing, and I don't go berry picking every August. I can't stand the bugs, but what does it mean to be Enok, I throat sing. I remember a lot of stories, and I remember the lifestyle that I had in the north, but I don't sew. I'm a really good shot, but I'm a woman, and women don't go hunting, although I could probably outbeat my brothers. So And I love country food. I love the beluga, the seal, the walrus. I like ironak, like fermented walrus, like all of this stuff I love. My cousin, she sews. She throws things but doesn't like to throw things. She can't stand country food. She doesn't like it. And that's okay. But she speaks Inuktitut like no one else's business. Who between us is the real Inuk? And what the hell does that mean, you know? My grandmother who, you know, lived traditionally and was very traditionalist and believed in like certain things and that we could and we could not do. Women had to have long hair and blah, blah, blah. All these like traditional, conventional things like. But she was half. Her father was a white man. Like, does that make her a real Inuk? But she's half. So, you know, there's a lot, this is really important question that's coming today is what does it mean to be Inuk and what it means to be real Inuk. And I think like the art that we're seeing here is like reality. It's a mix of this is a definition we're giving to being Inuk today, you know? And that's what I'm trying to do with my artwork is redefine and kind of like talk about it and bring it out there. There's so many times where people are gonna, you know, oh, what's your Inuk name? Oh, how do we say walrus in Inuktitut? They'll test you. They'll test me. Like, what is your business? Like, what is, like Jenna, who's, you know, very brown and I'm very white skinned. Like, you know, does that make her more Inuk than I am? I've been throat singing longer than Jenna. Does that make me more Inuk than she is? She speaks more Inuktitut than I do. Does that, you know what I mean? But I'm repeating myself, and this is something that I'm very passionate about. So it's this work, if we're going to come back to the work, that's what I see it's talking about, and it's redefining. And it's a conversation we need to have. I don't know how I got there. But okay.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a question about sound. And you sang, but also this event tonight started with a question that was developed with Nipivut around the exhibition of what would Chauvinai's work sound like, or what sort of sounds would accompany Chauvinai's work. And then you all work in media in one way or another. You described an installation, Nancy, that you had just mounted not too long ago in Montreal, and that both of you were involved in film. And you're also involved with Nipivut, with the radio. So I'm wondering if each of you could maybe speak a bit to sound and the value of sound in your practice and what it might mean for you as Inuk media producers, Inuit media producers.
I would say something kind of like fantastical. I feel like a lot of the pieces are something, or like a lot of the stories are something kind of magical almost, because there's a lot of creatures. So something like that.
Part of the work, I feel like it's kind of like revitalizing culture with polar bears and animals that we see in the landscape and everything. Like if you watch the image for like 5 minutes and then close your eyes and imagine the sound of it, I think you can really get your imagination out too.
That's a project. To give sound to Chauvinai's work, that'd be so fun. I could probably do something like that for the next like 3 months or whatever. There's, I hear sounds of like, okay, so Alapi, the theater show that I was a part of, it has it's a podcast that was transformed into a theater show, super fun, lots of modern sounds. So I hear like maybe sounds of Honda, kids playing, kids screaming, and back home sound goes very, very far. You don't have, because it's flat land, so sound carries very far. So I can hear sounds that come from very far, and then I hear really eerie sounds, like ice breaking, maybe like creatures, I don't know, scary, like kind of like alien-like sounds with, that's what I hear. I could probably, I could probably go on and on. That's a really good question. That was fun. Maybe, you know, sounds of hunting and hunters, but then, like, because Inuit believe that there's a world between living and dead, that place where Irat will bring you, and I believe that these things could live in that space. So if we had fun trying to invent those sounds that live in that space and kind of flash between. I wonder if she has the capability of going between the worlds. That's probably what she's able to do. That's probably why she was able to come up with works like that. I'd really like to meet her one day. Oh man, if I could, if only I could. Would that be a really cool project?
Any other questions or no? Okay, well, thank you for everyone for coming.
Thanks so much. I didn't expect so many people.
I just want to quickly say thank you on behalf of Nipivut. Thank you to our guests, to Jenna and Nancy, and thank you to Anika, who, as Robin mentioned, stepped in at the last minute to help out. She's on the team of Nipivut, but she didn't think she'd be doing this tonight, so recorded on the camera. And thank you to Robin and Michelle and everyone at the gallery for organizing this, and thanks all of you for coming out. It's been really wonderful.